Hey guys, Bowen here. We made it. It's been a long week, but we're here with our first episode of Teens Weekly. So today we're going to be covering stress. Because we're outside of school, I know I posted a poll on my Instagram, and a lot of you guys voted for school drama, but we're going to save that for when we're back in school. So we're going to cover stress right now because it's a year-round thing. So we're going to cover how to cope with stress, how to learn from stress, how to self-empower through stress, and how to teach others about stress. So, we're going to cover those primary four things on each topic we discuss every episode, every week. So, to start off, we're going to define stress, which is a pressure emotionally, physically, and or psychologically, and or a combination of one, two, or three. So, we teenagers primarily suffer from emotional and psychological stress rather than physical stress, because we're doing sports, we're doing you're going to the gym after school or whatever. So physical stress doesn't really come to play until you start getting into your late 20s. From what I've read, physical stress, it really does not start to affect your body until you have so much stress to the point where you can't even cope with it. And us teenagers with our younger bodies, we don't really see the effects of stress on our bodies. It's more emotional and psychological, as we all know. So things that cause stress in us youth are primarily parents, expectations of our parents and peers. We face stresses at school, with society, our social life, in and out of school, our relationships, money if you have an after-school job and you're trying to save money for that car, or you're trying to, go on a little shopping spree with your friends. That's kind of a stress too. Even if it's a positive thing, sometimes you gotta watch out for the negative things. So how to cope? The first thing here on my list is doing nothing. So I learned that just sitting and doing nothing for 30 seconds could actually have such a positive effect on your mind you don't even know it. So if you just stop, you take 30 seconds, you just close your eyes and breathe, and you completely clear your mind. It helps with stress and anxiety so much. Finding your happy place. Now this is something, it's very hard to do even for me, but you really just have to take time in your free time when you're doing nothing and actually think about what your happy place really is. Because you can think, I like being at the beach, and think about the beach, but is that really your happy place? Think about the people, the time, your health, what's there, what you're eating, what you're drinking. It's got to be so realistic and vivid in order for it to actually become your happy place. And you have to revisit that happy place over and over again so it develops. And then once it's almost fully developed, you can actually just trigger it in your mind, and it'll bring you there, and it'll calm you down. It'll help you with your stress and other things. Figuring out what's causing your stress and eliminating it. So sometimes this isn't possible to do, but you can do this with surface problems, things like school and money and certain social anxieties and certain social stresses. It's hard to really narrow down because it's so personal with each person. But if you're at school and you're stressed out about your grades, just take that extra 15 minutes and study a little more, or make sure all your answers are right and everything like that. There's certain things you can do. There are certain things you can do to eliminate your stress. So just take the extra time to do that, because that extra 10, 15 minutes out of your life is not going to kill you, and it's going to help. Working out is actually another big stress reliever. So when you stress, your body actually builds adrenaline, both in your mind and body, and you feel more energetic when you're stressed out because you just get anxious and you get, a little jittery. But working out will take the energy that your stress has built up, and it will throw it out of your body, and it will eliminate some of your stress. So it's crazy. So get up and go work out if you're stressed out. Learn to say no. This is also situational for stresses, because certain people like me, if you're really nice and you just want to do everything for everybody, you can't say no. But you kind of have to learn how to say no, because it will just add extra stress on your life. And you're going to come to a point where if you don't learn to say no, you're going to have to say no in order for you to, live. You got to have your own time. You have your own schedules, your own things you're doing. You can't do everything for everybody all the time. So learn to say no. Moving on. What you can learn from stresses. You can learn ways to manage your stress, obviously. Everyone's going to have their own individual ways. I encourage you to look into and research ways, your top ways to deal with stress. Personally, I like to go for walks in the woods, and I like to sit on the beach and watch the waves and all this other stuff. And I like to take that 15, 30 seconds and just stop and just clear my mind. Learn what works best for you. So I would recommend finding your top 3 things and making sure you can do them anywhere at any time. How to work through certain stresses. So stress is very situational. You can have stress from anything, like I covered earlier. So you're going to learn the individual coping mechanisms that work with different stresses, and that's just an exploration that you have to do. You have to take the time. See, this is the thing. You have to take the time in order to figure out what works for you and when it works and if it can work all the time. Because you can have coping mechanisms that work at certain times of the day or in certain situations that you can't do in other situations, but work better. So they're like your little pools of stress relief. Moving on to self-empowerment. So future situations will be easier once you learn how to cope with your stress and in what ways you can and how and everything else. The tiers of coping with stress and learning from stress, you're going to feel so much better about yourself, and you're going to feel just like you can conquer the world because your stress is not there anymore. And if it does come back, you can get rid of it with your coping mechanisms. I've been through worse. I love that quote. You can always tell yourself you've been through worse because you're really not going to remember all the bad stuff you've been through. But I'm sorry, I got something in my throat today. But you've been through worse. You have, and you're going to get better. And you're going to cope, and you're going to get through it, and you're going to learn, and you're going to feel great at the end of the day after you figure out how to cope with it. Stress develops character and personality. I love that. It does. It really does. Stress is going to cause you to do things. If you're not coping with it, that's going to develop your personality, whether in a negative way or a bad way, but it's ultimately going to be positive influence on your personality because you're going to learn from it and you're going to develop who you are as a person as you grow up through situations that are stressful. I lost my grandfather in 2016. It was a very stressful situation, and I developed something called broken heart syndrome from it, where the tissue in my heart actually tears a little bit, and it's an irreversible thing. And sometimes I get little, putters in my heart, and it just reminds me that I have to use my coping mechanisms in order to eliminate my stress. And it helps me not only when I get in stressful situations, but when I'm upset or when I'm angry or when I'm sad. It's not just stress for me. My coping mechanisms work in a range of different things. Moving on to teaching others. This is great. I love this. When you learn how to cope with your stress like I have, you can become someone like me and you can help other people cope with their stress. And it makes you feel so good about yourself, and you know that you're helping somebody. And it gives you such a warm, fuzzy feeling inside your body. It's great. You can teach others how to cope. You can introduce others to new coping mechanisms. You can relate to other people through the experiences you've had, and you guys can actually share coping mechanisms and intertwine them so you guys can use each other to cope, even turning to friends and doing certain things with friends that you both enjoy that both help you relieve your stress. It's amazing what you can do with other people, and just not even talk. You don't even have to talk. You guys can just go for a silent walk in the woods, and just the presence of someone else being there helps you cope and helps you relax so much. It's insane. And helping others through stress and showing them how much good comes at the end of the day after they've figured out how to cope with stress is one of the most amazing things you can do for somebody. Holding their hand and being there and walking them through the stress and showing them, you can get through this. You're going to be okay. The stress is going to go away. The stress is there now, and it's beating at you and it's picking at the back of your head, but you can cope with it, and you can figure out how to either eliminate it or deal with it so that it doesn't kill you. And then when the stress is gone and the light's there and it's just amazing, it's the most amazing thing to be by somebody's side when their eyes light up and they smile because their stress is gone. So that about does it for stress right now. That's the basis. That's the basics of stress. we're gonna revisit stress again. I'm gonna try to get some Q&A going on Instagram. I'm gonna take questions, so leave me questions down in the comments if you guys have specific situations you want me to cover and or make a video on. Hit me up in the DMs on Instagram. I'll be more than happy to answer your guys' questions and chit chat. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that about future videos and what we're putting out. Whew, it's a lot. So make sure you guys follow us on Instagram. It's up and running. I'm posting at least 3-4 times a day. I got motivational stuff. I got life hacks. I'm throwing links in the comments. They're not hyperlinks, but just copy and paste them into your Safari or web browser or whatever. And there's some amazing things out there. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be back again next week, if not sooner, for our next episode. And I will be starting our high school life hacks sub-series very soon. I have to get that put together. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope I helped you today. And remember, you are strong.